listeners, to another episode of Southern Hang. We've got four dudes playing dudes disguised as other dudes. We're dads, professionals, knuckleheads. We all met in college, and all four of us were first team All-State. I mean, we can make it rain out here. But you see us as you want to see us, in the simplest terms and the most convenient definitions. What we found out is that each one of us is a brain and an athlete, a basket case. I'm not sure if anybody's apprentice, but there may or may not be a criminal. Now, on previous episodes, we had some technical issues. Come to find out, Neil's eyelids were jammed, and we needed a live, was it a live rooster? We needed a live rooster to take the curse off my microphone, and nobody knew what to get Millie and Jimmy for a wedding present. We were dealing with a lot of shit out here. Now, what we've learned through the first couple episodes is that life moves pretty fast. And if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. So for the next 35 to 40 minutes, we're sure to put a smile on these four faces and hopefully a little smile on yours as well. Listeners, if you can't tell from this intro, tonight we're going to tackle movies. And because we all like music, it's going to have to be a great movie and soundtrack combo. Two things that go together like peas and carrots. Boys, I'm excited. Are y'all ready to go?
Let's go, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Let's get it.
Well, candlesticks always make a nice gift.
That's right. Let's get two. Let's get two.
Lollygaggers, sir. Make some lollygaggers.
That's right.
Red, I think you need to keep that voice throughout the podcast.
This Sunday. Well, guys, I'm pumped. I know we always talk about, we're going to talk about anything that kind of tickles our fancy, and it could be anything going on. But this week, we're going to bring in some movie stuff, right? So where do we start? And I think we're pretty fortunate and pretty blessed. One of our crew is actually in the industry. So, Sherm, let's start off with you, buddy. What do you think makes a great movie?
Well, thank you for that. First of all, I think there's a couple things. I think it's a lot of stuff. And keep in mind, my idea of a great movie or a great film could be different from Craig's and different from yours and, different from Neil's. But I think generally speaking, we're talking about, a strong plot. We're talking about good characters with good actors as well. Don't have to be big names. Don't have to be names that but it's helpful. People go to films to see actors that they know and have kind of been through that. I think the plot, the theme, the production of it, all of that is important and brings something to the table. But we talk about the soundtrack, we talk about the score of a film, all of those things. I think it also has to be relevant, right? A great film is something that you can identify with, or maybe the opposite, I guess, that kind of takes you to a place that you're excited to go to, and is a different place for you, and maybe you don't fit in. But it's something that that does resonate. The characters still resonate with you, even if you're not in that place, and that maybe it's a dark film, and you're not a dark guy, but you're those type things. I think there's always a film. You're talking about Bull Durham, the conversation that you quoted in there. Question becomes: is it a rom-com, or is it an action movie, or is it a sports film? I say it's a rom-com. I'd say it's a baseball movie disguised as a rom-com. Most people don't see it that way, but if you really get down to it, that's what it is. It's funny, you're laughing, and the whole thing is about them getting together at the end. Does Crash end up with the girl?
Is that what it's about? I feel like it's about Crash Davis breaking the record.
You might have missed the whole plot.
I think Sherm's right. I think it's very much a rom-com.
Yeah, but every guy that watches it loves it, and it's they really did disguise a rom-com. It was brilliant. So anyway, that's my feeling on it. What do you guys think?
Well, for me, I'm not quite the artist that you are, Sherman, or the appreciation of art like you are. But to me, a movie that is memorable is one that has top-notch dialogue. Movies that on second, third listen, you pick up things you didn't see the first time or remember the first time, and then years later, it's the movies that you're still quoting to your buddies when we're doing stuff like this.
So
Yeah, heard.
what do you got there? Like a Reservoir Dogs, or like what do you throw in there that's got good dialogue?
Anything Tarantino for sure. A Few Good Men, comedies. Like I mean, I still to this day quote Bill and Ted in all of those movies. Obviously, that's not going to be winning any Academy Awards, but I, I'll hang out with Socrates Johnson any day.
Yeah, Tombstone,
Shawshank.
Shawshank. Yeah, that's what I was trying to pull out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great flicks.
Usual
Great
Suspects.
Flicks. Love Usual Suspects.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it doesn't have a soundtrack though. Tombstone doesn't have a soundtrack, so it's just a movie.
Well, that's a good question. Can you have a movie without a soundtrack? I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, it's got a score.
You can have a movie with a score and no real sound.
Yeah.
Just to have music. I guess technically you could definitely have movies with no music.
Right. We ain't walking around singing Star Wars. We're not,
some of us.
Right.
What's this wee shit?
Bumping.
That cantina scene jams.
bumping Indiana Jones with the windows down. Right. You ain't rocking that, but it's a great
It would be interesting to find out if like RZA or somebody has sampled the cantina scene.
Hell yeah.
I guarantee somebody has taken that and put that in a beat.
Oh yeah.
So for me, like when I think of a good movie, I'm with you, but like for me, it's like, does it bring some type of emotion out? Right? Like, can I laugh? I don't want to say, can I cry? I don't want to tell you guys I cry. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I still remember a time back in college, we were watching a show. I think it was called My Life. Was it Michael Keaton?
No.
Nicole Kidman and Michael Keaton. Does that sound right?
Sounds right.
Go with it.
And he was making films. He was passing away and started like making videos for his kid because he wasn't going to be there to help his kid grow up. And it's like 2:00 in the afternoon, and we were sitting in Clark's room, and like we were 5 minutes into this movie, and I look over and I'm tearing up, and he's tearing up, and we're like, "Hey, let's turn on ESPN." But like it brings you some kind of emotion, right? And then my other judge is kind of to your point, if it's a Saturday afternoon, you're kind of flipping through the channels and it's on. Do you stop channel surfing to watch the rest of the movie? That's kind of where my head goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we still do that? Streaming kind of kills that a little bit. Do y'all still channel surf?
No, I don't. I got Hulu. It's not easy.
I stream surf. I don't know if that's what it's called, but I check every streaming service I have looking for the right thing. And yeah.
I do kind of find myself when I travel, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's a menu again. And I find myself surfing a little bit. And that's when I tend to find the movies that I loved back in the day.
That's a good call. You catch something 5 minutes into it and all right, this is something I'm just going to sit and watch. Like it's, you knew that feeling back to your point, Red. You get that feeling immediately when you see it. You're like, all right, I want to be here for the next hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good feeling.
And some of them, you know all the lines, right? There's nothing new, right? You talked about, hey, you missed something, good dialogue. Maybe you missed something early on. In many cases, you know all the lines. I feel like one time in college, we watched Dazed and Confused, and the game was to actually quote the entire movie. And I think everybody was successful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did the flipping through on the hotel this weekend. Maybe that's a new thing, but I landed on Game of Thrones, and it was the Battle of the Bastards. And so I'm like, oh, and it's right about to get started. I'm like, well, done and done watching this one. But, again, no score, but I knew what was about to happen because I'm so ate up with Game of Thrones that I was like, oh, man.
That's like a movie because that was, that was a production in itself for sure.
Hell yeah.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about what makes a great soundtrack. And, when we started this podcast, I know we all said we love music. And what I've learned, I don't even know what episode this is. I don't know if it's episode 7 or episode 65. But what I've learned.
Episode 9.
What I've learned is that I think I enjoy music. And I think all three of you guys take it to another level. I think you guys love music. And I don't want this to discount anybody, but Neil, I feel like you're probably the next level guy in the group. So let's start with you. What do you think makes a great soundtrack?
Well, for me, I think that a great soundtrack becomes a character in the movie. And it's where, multiple songs from the soundtrack are actually in the movie, and they're there for a purpose and moving the plot, developing characters, doing everything as if it were, to me, that's the biggest part of a soundtrack, and the presence of, any type of needle drop into a movie. And I think, by the way, you don't see many soundtracks anymore. So when we start talking about good soundtracks, it's probably going to be from movies when we were younger, because they just don't do it anymore. I think streaming has kind of killed the soundtrack. But I'd like a movie soundtrack that it has at least one original song that was written for the movie. And now I know there's a lot of great movies with great music in it where they pulled, music from years ago, from that time. But I think the ultimate, like if you're talking peak of soundtracks, that's what it's doing. The music becomes a character in the movie and helps to, you can't imagine that movie without that music. And then also there's an original piece of music that was written as part of the completion of that story.
What about you guys?
What do y'all think?
Well said. I don't know. The mic drop comment, I liked it all. There's plenty of movies I can think of that I 100% agree with what Neil's saying, but I'm trying to reflect on what movie did I see and not know the song, but now that song connects with that movie. But maybe my brain's not connecting that dot right now at the moment that I'm thinking, well, I didn't know that song until that movie. But there's plenty enough movies that I see the scene and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that song combo.
Several of those are some of those are coming to mind now. I don't know. I know we're all going to be kind of picking some movies and stuff, and maybe when we want to save some of these stories. But there's a couple of scenes that immediately come to my mind when you talk about that.
Well, fire down, give us one.
What to me, the Jackrabbit Slim scene in Pulp Fiction, where Vincent Vega and Mia Wallace do their little dance. Never Can Tell. Like that's a Chuck Berry song. I didn't really know that song before that.
Oh
movie.
well, all right. I guess I should reiterate. I'm thinking like because you said an original song, so I was thinking there's an original song that I didn't know before the movie came out, but now it's ingrained and now that's what it clicks with me that goes with that movie. But 100%, that Jack Rabbit Slim scene, 100%, I get that. There's a few of them out there that are like that in other movies. But yeah, Pulp Fiction, that one's got a few of them. 100%, I get that.
I think Tarantino in general, as you said Reservoir Dogs earlier, and I think the Steelers Wheel.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean, as soon as now when that song comes on, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah.
I mean, just that's I mean, every time he's holding the ear, and it's it's been 25, 30 years. So if you guys haven't seen it, I know I just did a spoiler, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
That to me stuck in the middle with you. As soon as I didn't know that song. I did not know that song. I like a lot of older songs, but that song was not on my not in my world.
So
yeah, he's probably the best at doing that. At doing the making sure that the music is exactly with with the scene, or at least in my version. Go ahead, Red. Sorry, my bad.
No, all good, man. It's interesting, Neil, to hear your thoughts on it, right? Like, I'm with you that it becomes a character, but like for me, it's almost, you may know the song, maybe it's original, but it's almost like you don't even notice it, but you're singing along with it, right? But I guess my question, and I'm sure maybe you said this, the soundtrack is going by the wayside, and maybe it's because you can't go to the mall anymore and flip through all the CDs or the LPs, but how many songs have to be great on a CD, album, cassette, 8-track before it becomes a great soundtrack? Right? Like, do you remember I remember buying tapes thinking this is going to be the shit. You get it home and it's like 2 songs. And you're like, this is crap.
Oh, there's a few when we had this task that I looked up and I thought, oh, this is a great movie. And I looked at the soundtrack and I'm like, well, hell, there ain't but 2 songs that are really that good on it, and I'm not going to say it yet because we haven't divulged our picks, but I've got a couple of notes where I was like, well, that'd be a great one. Then I'm like, well, really? Once I did the soundtrack, it's got 2 amazing songs, like next level historical songs, but the rest of the songs were like, so heard. I agree.
Well, I think even if you had just a regular album, your favorite band puts out an album and it's got 4 or 5 songs on it that are just straight bangers, you're going to be pretty excited about that. You know what I mean? Like, then you may later, 10 years later, figure out, I like 2 of these other songs. I was just late to it, or they didn't resonate, or whatever else. Now you've got 7 songs, that's not bad. So if it's a compilation, 5 songs, 6 songs makes it good. Not great, not the greatest, which is what we're talking about, but that's a different level.
Maybe it's a Third Eye Blind album. Maybe you revisit it 20 years later.
Only that debut album.
And apparently only the last 3 songs.
So
no, the whole thing's good, but should we go there again, guys?
It's your show.
I don't think we've ever left. So Sherm, you think 5 songs, 5 or 6 makes it good?
Yeah.
And most albums have like 10, maybe 11, 12?
12 songs.
Maybe you go a 2 CD like Forrest Gump. Like, I know everybody's selection. So Forrest Gump wasn't selected, but it was a 2-disc soundtrack. Right? So 24.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big number.
Mm-hmm. Got some good music.
What do you guys?
Got some good music.
Cotton, Wildy, what do you think? What's your number? What's the over/under before it's a good to great?
Well, once I throw out my pick, I mean, my lineup is stacked. I'm top to bottom. I'm top to bottom now. I'm not going to be in some of our team's wheelhouses of music choices, but I'll put my team up against anybody of these about to come out song lists, head to toe, buddy. Yeah.
Well, I definitely eliminated a few when I realized there weren't, the batting average wasn't as good. But I think you definitely have to be hitting better than 500 for sure. I'm thinking hitting more like 750, 800 in order to be entering this. And I feel like we're going to be talking about some 10 out of 10s.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, boys. I feel like we're all kind of dancing around it, right? Dancing on the minefield a little bit. Nobody wants to kind of shit on everybody else's pick without knowing what the other pick is. So now when we put these 2 things together, right, you can't just be any geek off the street. And let's not be coming to the table with peanut butter, no jelly, Kool-Aid, no sugar, ham, no burger. Let's bring together some solid fucking picks. All right. So I know everybody's selection. I'm not going to go first. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
What you got?
So, and to be clear, we're just going to throw it out. We're going to say what we got. I'm not giving any background. I want to make sure we got the rules here as we go around.
Fire down.
I'm going 1983, September 28th. It's a great day, by the way. I turned 8 that day. The Big Chill.
Ooh.
Boom.
If you haven't seen The Big Chill, first of all, the film, amazing.
It is.
The plot, and going in here, 12 our friends get back together after 12 years after their friend committed suicide. And it's a ensemble cast. Glenn Close, Tom Berenger, Meg Tilly, Jeff Goldblum, Kevin Kline. Phenomenal movie. The soundtrack is what brought me to it, and I had to rethink about the film, about is the film good enough to back up the soundtrack, because the soundtrack is phenomenal.
The movie's fantastic.
The soundtrack is ridiculous.
Who's on it?
But Aretha Franklin, The Temptations,
Rolling
Smokey
Stones.
Robinson, Three Dog Night, Rolling Stones, CCR, Marvin Gaye. I mean, it's ridiculous. So
I can see.
I'm excited to hear what your all's are and see how this all stacks up. But pretty excited about this.
That's a strong throw out of the gate. I'm not going to lie to you.
I concede. I'm going back to SpongeBob the movie. It's I thought my lineup was good, but Big Chill, I forgot about that one movie. That movie's legit, and that soundtrack's awesome.
What year did that come out, Sherman?
1983.
So
1983, a number. Sorry,
another. No, not doing it. Not doing it again.
I don't know. I don't know how old I was when I saw it. But I feel like watching that with the parents in the scene where they were doing the dishes in the kitchen. And was that Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog playing at that time, or was that a different song? They're all kind of doing the dishes and handing them off to wash and dry. Like that was my memory from the Big Chill growing up. All right, Cod.
Who's next?
Cod, what you got? You feel strong. Actually, I tell you what. No, what you feel too strong. We're going to come back to you.
Well, I feel like I took the chunk out. That was a great pick. That's a great movie. So I got no issue going next. But if you want, we can go to Neil.
I want to build up. I want to like you feel like you are just going to blow this shit out of the water. So let's come back to you here. Wilding, you go next. What do you got for us?
Well, I took a different approach. So I started thinking about, from the music side of things, what are the favorite soundtracks that I've gone back to over and over again. And unfortunately, most of them that I came to were pretty terrible movies, which we could talk about after this. So I started thinking about, okay, what's a soundtrack that was in my wheelhouse of music when we all kind of were hanging out in college. And I came to a movie from, I'm going to guess like 94, 95 time frame. And the bands on this soundtrack are some of the best bands of that era. We're talking Rage Against the Machine, 9 Inch Nails, Jesus and Mary Chain, Rollins Band, Stone Temple Pilots. Now, the movie is not going to win any Academy Awards, but I think it was a great movie, and I remember seeing it in the theater with some guys from college, I believe. And the movie I'm talking about is The Crow. Brandon Lee.
I had it written down.
Yeah. And I mean,
it's a great flick. It's a good flick, though.
It's a great,
That's a superhero. That's a superhero flick too. So
and they went and tried and remake it, and it was terrible.
No. Brandon Lee. That's great.
The Brandon Lee, and for those for the listeners that don't know, it's a crazy story on what happened, because the movie is about a character that dies and comes back and avenges his death, and unfortunately, Brandon Lee tragically died in the filming of this movie, and they were able to finish it because they were almost done when he was shot. But just the way that the story came through, and then being able to still finish that movie, and for it to be such a fantastic performance by Brandon Lee. And then the music, when I was talking about what makes a good soundtrack and the music being a character in the film, like that movie does not exist without the soundtrack. And actually, two of the bands I didn't mention, one is Violent Femmes. Like, you don't think of Violent Femmes as like a dark type of band that would be a part of this type of movie, but the song that they have, Color Me Once, is a phenomenal part of that soundtrack. And then, the Stone Temple Pilots song it was on an album that they did, but it actually came out with this movie first. But the best song I think on the soundtrack, it was actually a song written for the movie by The Cure, and it's a song called "Burn," and it is about the movie itself, and it's played throughout the movie, and it's a jam.
Yeah, that's a good flick. That's a good flick. You ain't got to be mad at that flick. I thought that was I like that movie. That movie's really good. I haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe it doesn't. Present well. However many years now. But
when I lived,
I remember at the time when it came out, I thought it was great.
When I lived in that house on that shotgun, I don't even remember the street, with Gregonis and Brian Beam.
Was it Brandeis?
And it was that. It was. Yeah, it was Brandeis. And every night we came home, Beam would have that movie on, and to your point, like we just stop and we'd watch it. And I probably watched that movie 500 times then, but it's been a little while since I've seen it. But anyway, it's a good one, and the music is incredible.
It's a good soundtrack for sure. Jesus and Mary Chain, I'm a big fan of them, but also Stone Temple Pilots on there. Yeah, was that The Big Empty?
The Big Empty, yep.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of songs that are covers by the Joy Division, they were covers of Joy Division songs, and they actually have a very heavy influence on that whole soundtrack. Like the 9 Inch Nails song is a cover of Joy Division, and they actually tried to get the surviving members of that band after the lead singer killed himself to participate in this, and they couldn't do it. So they got other bands to cover some of the stuff. But anyway, it's a cool soundtrack, cool movie. Glad we could talk about it for a little bit.
Lots of death, apparently. I mean,
well, it's the kind of the theme of that movie.
Damn.
Well, the character's name is Draven, right? Eric Draven, and yeah.
We all need a hug or a little kumbaya session there to bring this back up a notch. So,
that's like a couple episodes in a row where I need hugs.
I know. Craig, what do you think, buddy? You want to build up a little bit more? You want me to go? You want to go?
Well,
you want to paper, rock, scissors?
So mine,
you want to go? You go.
No,
I'll go. You go.
I got it. Me? I got it. It's you. All right. So mine is, but I feel like I got a nice segue from Neil here, because mine is a modern day Romeo and Juliet. Mine is a love story, true love story. When you think about what is true love, but mine is the love story of Bud and Sissy, Urban Cowboy. Is there a better love story than two folks meeting in Texas on the oil refinery, going to Gilly's bar and dancing to Charlie Daniels Band? I mean, how else do you find love than hanging out at Gilly's bar, riding the mechanical bull, fighting for your woman in a trailer park? I mean, that's got all the stuff. That's got all the things. And so, yeah, man, Bud and Sissy, that lineup, they dance, and there's amazing artists to that whole thing. So that's Johnny Lee, Kenny Rogers, Linda Ronstadt, Boz Scaggs, Mickey Gilley, Charlie Daniels, Jimmy Buffett, Anne Murray. Shout out to my bride. That's our wedding song was "Can I Have This Last Dance?" or "Can I Have This Dance?" Jimmy Buffett, Eagles, Bonnie Raitt, Dan Fogberg, Joe Walsh, Bob Seger. I mean, that's head to top to bottom. Now, it may not be in some of the people's wheelhouse of their checkered West Coast shirts, but it is for the country folk. That is a lineup right there, buddy. That is a lineup. They're putting.
I've been aggrieved.
Yeah. We are two-stepping, buddy.
So what I remember about Urban Cowboy is like that being one of the first movies that was on cable all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's like when you got HBO and it was on, and I watched that movie, get home from school, and I didn't even know what the hell I was watching hardly. Mm-hmm. But that's what I remember, is watching that thing on channel 17 of my slider of the cable box that I had.
When Bud and Sissy get back together, and he pulls Sissy's license plate out of the little box in the truck and puts it back behind her seat.
Baller
and
move.
Puts Sissy back in it.
Straight baller
buddy,
move.
they're back. They're back. They are back.
Watching that movie as a kid, I thought that a mechanical bull, the punching bag machine, and worms and tequila were going to be a much bigger part of my life than what they have been.
There was a run, though, Redmond. There was a run that they were.
Well, that's true.
Maybe
that's
just
true.
a worm.
I've ridden a bull.
You've ridden a bull. You've taken a tequila shot and maybe punched a bag or two, but it was
or been a punching bag. Right. Either way, it's
some combination of the two for sure.
Now tell us about yours.
Well, so as I'm listening to what we thought made a good soundtrack, I feel like I'm checking the boxes, right? Batting greater than 500. As I'm thinking about what makes a great movie, bringing out emotions, having a good story, makes you laugh a little bit, makes you chuckle. I don't know if I want to start with my movie or if I want to start with my soundtrack. I think I'm going to start.
Go with the soundtrack and let us see if we can guess.
So the artist on this, Simon and Garfunkel, The Who, yes, the Beach motherfucking Boys, Rod Stewart, Allman Brothers Band. Craig, I know that's up your alley.
Oh, I love Allman Brothers.
Skynyrd, Zeppelin, Sir Elton John, Nancy Wilson, David Bowie, Cat Stevens, Thunderclap Newman, and Clarence Carter.
Damn.
The only one that I didn't name, because this will probably give it away, was probably an actual original song for the movie, Stillwater.
Oh, buddy, tell me I'm not good. Tell me I'm not good.
The movie I'm talking about is Almost Famous.
Yeah. Who's not the best? Mic drop. I had you and Wilding picked. I didn't have Sharon.
So for our listeners at home, before we started tonight, Craig thought he was a mentalist and wrote down what my pick was going to be, and he nailed me. He had it spot on.
I wish I would have wrote down The Crow because I really had that one lit like in my back of my head for Neil, but I was like, man, I don't think that's right. But regardless, Almost Famous is a great flick and a great soundtrack.
I feel like go ahead, Craig. I thought you were done.
No. It wasn't, and I don't know why it didn't click in my head until like we started doing our pregame before we started recording, and I saw red, and I'm like, oh, it's Almost Famous. Like it came to me. Like I'm like, yes.
So in prep for this podcast, just I was looking at like famous or famous to me, like music scenes. And the very first one I went to YouTube and watched was the bus scene from Almost Famous. And when they all just start singing, everybody's in a bad mood and they're down and some bad, it's just gone down. And then they just start playing Tiny Dancer, and then one person starts singing, and then at the end, everybody in the whole bus is singing that song, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. Like, to me, that's music becoming a character in a movie. It was awesome.
100%.
Still is awesome.
Hold me closer, Tony Dancer.
That's where I was going to go. You're stealing my line.
So Cotton, I got a question. If you nailed those two, what did you have me down for?
I had you at Do the Right Thing, but I backed up. But I backed up because I was like, man, I think he's going to be Do the Right Thing. But then I backed up because I looked at that soundtrack, and I'm not trying to be mad. That movie's incredible, but the soundtrack I think could have been maybe better. Like there's 3 or 4 to 5 good songs, but it wasn't top to bottom. So that's where I was like, man, I feel like he's going to Do the Right Thing, but maybe not. So I didn't have it on you, but your pick was amazing. Great flick. Here's the one that I'm blown away that nobody, I figured it'd be 4 out of 4 though, that everybody was going to come pure country. George Strait's amazing country flick of his cover of Dusty Wyatt Chandler. I figured that was going to probably be Neil Wilding's pick. I figured he was like, dude, I'm a pure country guy. I'm doing all George Strait songs, and that was totally what he was going to pick. But I'm amazed that we didn't all 4 go.
Is that even a movie? I've never seen it.
It is.
George
Strait's movie. The soundtrack's actually pretty good if you like George Strait. He is the king of country. So that album is pretty good, but the movie's not good. It's not a very good movie at all.
So I can give you a soundtrack that is flies under the radar, that is awesome, all by one artist in similar vein, but is a god awful rom com starring Jennifer Aniston, Cameron Diaz.
Huh.
That movie is She's the One.
Nope.
So She's the One is the soundtrack is all Tom Petty.
Oh.
And it's so Tom Petty in the '90s came back. He did some sessions with Rick Rubin, and that was Wildflowers, one of his best albums. I think one of the best albums of all time. Well, he did so much work. He had a whole nother catalog where I guess he was friends with Ed Burns, who was acting and making that movie. And he goes, yeah, and he goes, here you go, and he just gives him all of these songs and. It is it's great. It's a great soundtrack. It's got
great soundtrack. I don't know the finish.
Yeah. Well, the movie's a very forgettable rom com. It makes no sense. Like the two don't go together at all.
Is that what Jay? Is that
great
Jay
album.
Moore in that movie?
He might be like the brother-in-law or something in that movie. Right. Yeah, but it's Jennifer Aniston and Cameron Diaz. It's yeah. But anyway, Tom Petty's got a whole soundtrack. Who knew?
Well, you can't back down.
No, that's
can't
great.
Back down from that.
Boom.
Throw out like give me 2 or 3 others, Sherm, that you were like you debated, and then there was like
Almost Famous was one of mine. I had it down to 3. I had Almost Famous, but I didn't think that the movie was as good when I looked at Big Chill. And then I had Juice. Which Juice to me is like one of my favorite, just quotable films. I love it.
Too obvious. Too obvious for you.
It is too obvious. And I think that I still listen to that soundtrack a lot. We talked, off. Those were the ones that were in my world.
Yeah.
But Big Chill won Academy, Best Picture for the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like when I started looking back at the film, I'm like, wait a minute. This is a no-brainer. This is, I'm looking at all these. The film blows away any of the other films. So that was kind of where I was with it. We talked about, just the 4 of us here, not on the last podcast, but on Judgment Night. The soundtrack on that is ridiculous, but the film's doesn't live up to the soundtrack, and that soundtrack was just mind blowing of bringing alternative bands together with hip hop bands and groups, and just everybody, just composition, and every song on there was new. Yes. So you talk about having a new song or one song that's new for the album. The entire album was all new, so it was just completely different at the time.
And then they tried to recreate it with the Spawn soundtrack. You remember that? It was not. It was not the same. It was but it wasn't.
My googly search had both of those movies listed as great soundtracks, shitty movie.
Yeah. So, what's the best soundtrack of all time? Here, I got one for you. How about this? The most memorable opening line to
a soundtrack.
A soundtrack. Mm-hmm. How about this one? Dearly beloved.
Oh yeah, I've got that on my list. That's and Purple Rain. The song itself is probably top 3 of my favorite songs. Like it's an incredible song, and I've got that on my list also as Purple Rain. But I don't know that the soundtrack top to bottom. Like I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings, but there's like 5, maybe 50. If we're shooting 50%, I think it's going 50, maybe 60, maybe 62%. But but it had at least 5 or 6 good songs in there. But I've got that on my list, man. That was there
is a live version of Purple Rain when Prince was on the Arsenio Hall show, and he comes on and he like plays. Like the opening riff or like and the opening verse, and then goes on like an 8-minute guitar solo.
It's one of the greatest songs.
So good.
Purple Rain blows me away every time I hear that song. Yeah, great flick. Yeah.
How about you, Cotton? Would you go back and forth on?
Well, I kind of like with Neil saying about The Crow. These superhero flicks are putting out some decent ones. So I had Guardians of the Galaxy, the original one. The Guardians of the Galaxy first has a great soundtrack, and that one's top to bottom great songs. But then I'm like, well, but can I have a superhero flick that counts as a really good movie? But Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the better Marvel movies. That one's a really good one. So I had that one on there. I almost had American Graffiti. Thought that one was really good. Had that one on there. Had that we said Do the Right Thing, and then I think Dazed and Confused was mentioned earlier also. So those were ones I kicked around for a little bit. I really like with A Star Is Born. I think that soundtrack is really good. I thought I like that flick. That's a good flick.
I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm behind the times.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Great. Good flick.
It's like 3 remakes of it, but this one's good.
You probably got it right.
Our boy Lucas Nelson was one of the guys that helped. What's your main actor? That's the
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, he like trained Bradley Cooper on how to become or how to be an artist, and
him and Isabel,
Jason Isbell. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, badass shit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple of shoulda, coulda, woulda, almost rans. We've mentioned a couple of them. Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, but it seemed too easy. Right. Stand By Me, but I've already talked about that on a previous show. I didn't want to bring it back, but the movie soundtrack is awesome. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, I got that written down.
Yeah.
I figured that was too obvious for me because being the bluegrass and country guy that I am, I figured that was too obvious for me, so I didn't go that one.
I thought one of you were coming with that for sure.
I did too.
This town's a geographical oddity. 2 weeks from
I would have written down that one for you, Cotton.
Yeah.
He's a dat man. He's a
Damn, we're in a tight spot.
And then I'll give my sister a shout out. She thought a couple of them, but the one she threw out that I liked was Remember the Titans.
Oh, hell yeah. Great flick. Great flick. Great soundtrack. Absolutely.
So one more musical moment that hasn't been brought up yet, but I think is memorable. How about the Bohemian Rhapsody scene in Wayne's World?
Oh yeah, good call.
Where they're chilling in the car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then they start headbanging.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the defining scene in that movie.
Hey, which I've got a question written down. I appreciate your segue. Does a biop count?
No.
So like
no.
The Doors, Ray,
no.
Queen. That doesn't count.
The Dewey Cox story.
Great movie.
All great movies, great
Ray.
soundtracks.
Ray is an incredible movie, and I love that whole soundtrack. But I don't know if that
Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, right? The Elton John movie. I mean, you could go on and on and on.
Yeah,
I think they're obviously a good soundtrack. They're an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah,
and most of those movies I think are great. But I think it's too easy. It's too simple.
All right, heard. Well, that's why I had it written down. I was like, does this even count? So
yeah. Or live movies, like live concerts, like Stop Making Sense or Rattle and Hum. Great music and good movies to me, but I didn't consider them because I felt like he was cheating.
Copy.
So
good stuff.
So we've talked about it. I want to just, I don't think, clear the air. Singles.
Oh.
Soundtrack great, movie shit, or soundtrack great, movie great?
Soundtrack great,
movie
good,
soundtrack great.
Yes.
I do not think it's shit by any means. I think it's a good movie.
No, it's a good movie.
Not a great movie.
Great soundtrack.
Good movie.
Great soundtrack. Elite.
Soundtrack's elite.
Platinum. All right. Well, boys, I think we had some good stuff here, some good conversation. I feel like we need to do a few shout outs here before we wrap up tonight. Craig, you got one or two?
I do. In the theme of what we're talking about in movies, Previously, we talked about Bend, Oregon, and the last Blockbuster. My aunt lives out there. Shout out to my Aunt Lisa. She sent we got our first fan mail today. So we got a care package with all of us got 4 shirts, 4 cups, sunglasses, stickers, all from the last Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon today. So that was a badass care package showed up, and we got to get together so I can give everybody their stuff. So yes, shout out to Aunt Lisa and the Jordan family in Bend, Oregon.
Thank you, Aunt Lisa.
Thank you, Aunt Lisa.
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything else they want to throw out there for a shout out?
Well, just real quick, a good buddy of mine, Joe Barnett, he hosts his own podcast, and I was listening to it this morning. He has a podcast he does with his twin brother called In It to Twin It, and it's very much in the knucklehead vein like we are. And at the end of his podcast, he did a nice little name drop of us in the Southern Hang podcast. And so, Joe, I appreciate that and figured I'd return the favor. So to our Southern Hang listeners, give Joe and his podcast a listen. In It to Twin It.
Great name.
Yeah. I'm going to throw one out there with no context. I'm going to give a shout out to Johnny Big Shoes and the Bubblegum Gang.
You know who you are, buddy.
That's right.
They're the best.
That's right.
They're the best.
Well, fellas, awesome. I feel like we had a good show here. We covered a lot of bases. I think, are we good? We got anything else we want to cover down on?
No, good,
all right,
man.
Peace out like sauerkraut.
This was fun.
Yep, good stuff. I don't know if we'll get an Oscar or a Tony or a Grammy, but it was good stuff.
He got it.
Yeah, he got it.
Good stuff.
See you, fellas.
Bye.
Later, guys.